How to create a webinar that sells. Let's talk exactly about that. I've made hundreds of millions of dollars starting with people from followers to my CRM, my database, straight into a webinar and buying. So let's break down the formula. The three things I want to talk about. How do you create a webinar that sells? What are the components of that? Number two, how do you boost sales through the art of engagement of your audience? How do you actually do that campaign and follow up? And number three, how do you maximize your webinars to drive more sales? So how do you create a webinar that sells? Well, what's the topic you want to talk about? And again, I would go out on social channels. I'm going to give you exact formula, so get a pen and paper. I would go out on social channels and I would start posting either surveys, ask questions. My name's Loral, I'm a money expert. What's one thing I can take care of for you? What's one thing I could teach you? Well, how do I, serve and handle whatever your needs are? Like, just ask a bunch of questions, get a bunch of information, build a webinar around what people want, not what you think they want. They need to give you their words and use their words because it'll attract them right back to your webinar. So that's number one. So if you actually search this topic on the internet, find your target audience and your ideal client and niche really quick. I actually disagree 1,000%. I don't want you to niche in the beginning. This is the internet. It's the bathroom wall. It's an international, worldwide communication tool. I want everybody in the top of my funnel. So I want to provide, through the copy and the language of my webinar, copy to get you to come, as broad as topic as I can. So let's just say your niche, your ideal target market. Let's just say it's an older woman. I'm thinking of a new client I just got. It's a woman between 55 and 75 that might be widowed or single. Maybe she was married before. Maybe she had kids. Maybe the same problem. Like, this is what happened later in life. I want you to offer kids. I want you to offer men. I want you to offer anybody, everything around this topic. I want a huge following to come in, and you niche it later. Like, bring it down to, well, you're my ideal client and you have a special package or product or program just for those people. But why not talk to everybody about everything? If you notice how I market and how I do webinars, I talk about money, and a subset of that is marketing. I talk about sales, I talk about business, and then after all of that making money, I talk about how to keep it, I talk about how to invest it. I talk really wide, and I have a huge conversation net. So if you get too niche too soon, people are just going to click out of your opt-ins, like from the beginning. That's not me, that's not me, that's not me. I'll tell you, it's not a mistake, but it's a noticing of what happened last year. When I launched the Make Your Kids Millionaires book, everybody thought because of the title, it was for kids. The truth is, if you're 40 and 50 out listening and you haven't got my Make Your Kids Millionaires, go get it, because it's everything you shoulda, coulda, woulda done when you were between 0 and 20. Unfortunately, the title limited the people that were interested. Like, well, I don't have kids, so I clicked out. No, you need it. After all these years, just noticing what people did. So now we're broadening our topics to get more people to come opt in for webinars around how we can help them no matter what. Then you niche later. So what are the parts of the formula of creating a successful webinar? So to sum it up, you're going to niche wide, develop your offers. Again, keep them really broad at the top, niche them in later, and then really work on your sales call follow-up, which I just did a bunch of videos on sales calls and how you do sales. So make sure you search those to get key indicators on how do you do that, and do a call to action in the webinar. I don't know how many women webinars I go to, and it's just fabulous content and no call to action. So what's your call to action? You need to take them to a next step, which is how you build a funnel and a campaign. They're coming from social media, following into your CRM, into your webinar, into your offer, into the next thing. Make sure you have a very sequential process for all of that. Number two, what's the art of engagement? Well, while you're out promoting your webinar, make sure you have people, like I have people who engage all the time on different social channels and continue to talk about, and don't talk about come to my webinar, come to my webinar, come to my webinar. Talk about what they're going to learn, right? If you want to know about this, come to my webinar. If you want to know about this, if you want to know about this, you're solving problems, you're telling stories, you maybe want to give some testimonials, but you need people out engaging to get them to come to your webinar. The other thing is, make sure you're doing your registration in a CRM, not inside of a social media channel. I don't know how many people I've come as a guest speaker and they did all of their marketing for the webinar all on social platforms. You can't control it. You can't be assured that they're actually going to get your reminders. You probably can't text remind them. So when we do our webinars, our trainings, we bring everyone in. We have a dialing team, we have an email team, we have a text team, and your registration numbers. If you can get 50% of the people who say they're going to come online to show up, you've done a great job. Most people get 20 to 30%, and beginners might get 10. And so make sure you're really boosting your sales by doing that follow-up. So just because they said they're coming, remember they're clicking on everything. You've got to do that follow-up, which means you got to bring them specifically into a CRM that controls and campaigns and automates all of that. Now, before I go to number 3, I want you to subscribe to my channel, click the notification button. I want you here every day, 5 days a week, and I want you coming up with 1 or 2 things that you're learning. So go to askloral.com, go to the page, and ask any question you want. What do you need to know? What are you curious about? You can ask, how do I get, how do you mentor with me directly? How do you have some private time with me? Like, let's get you up and running and moving quickly. We've done webinars as an entry point into this business for probably 24 years. So we know how to do it. We know how to help you do it. And it gets really frustrating being invited to your whatever you're doing, and you're running it all on social channels, not through a proper CRM and through proper structures, and you don't have a call to action. Now, number 3. So how during your webinar do you drive more sales? Well, again, you're going to use video. You're going to have different graphics. You're going to have a PowerPoint. Make sure that you're actually following your PowerPoint to a call to action. Everything should be driven by what is your call to action. So when we do PowerPoints and we do our finale of our webinar, we actually build a PowerPoint and back into it, because everything should be leading to what are you going to ask them to do next. And it needs to be sequential. Right? So if all you've done is say, read my Millionaire Maker book, say you're out of my YouTube channel, you maybe join my podcast, which is Loral's Real Money Talks, you read my book, what's your next step? Go to my Millionaire Intensive. So you might be coming to my webinar for that. And you might actually, find a different webinar or find something else that I'm doing and click into those. So it's where are you? How do I get you in? Once you're in my webinar though, like I'll do polls. There's all sorts of things inside the online technologies. You can do a poll, you can do a survey, engage in chat. I know so many people who I can come to a call or a webinar and they're not using their chat feature. Use chat, use different, things. I hold up little signs and things like that. So you got to create engagement behind this thing called the camera. And the more engagement you can get and the more you can get them to come live, if you're, confident, which I'm extremely confident in my content, I'll bring people live and do like little mini makeovers just to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about. I'll bring people live to ask any Q&A because I'm not scared of any question. Those of you who say, hold your questions to the end, your brain, an adult brain doesn't work like that. Stop saying that. And I don't know who taught you that, but stop it. Do not hold your questions to the end. What that tells me, when you say hold your questions to the end, what that tells me is you're insecure in your content because you don't know how to do it. So if I interrupt you with a question, God forbid, you can't get back on track. That's the amateur move. Do not say hold your questions. Take questions. Like I'll constantly come to my webinars. So go grab 2 tickets to my Millionaire Intensive and Marketplace. Come watch how I do it. And I'm constantly engaging. I'm constantly guiding you to the call to action at the end of that event. That is the entire intent, is not because I need to teach for another 8 hours, every 3 weeks in the year. I'm doing it because the call to action at the end is powerful. And what I do to you during that call and during that training causes the call to action. So how do you drive sales? 6-figure sales? Follow me, number 1, let me mentor you, and then structure your webinars properly. I'm gonna actually I already said, go to Ask Loral, ask me any question. This, I need you to actually have our CRM. Because to do this really well, you've gotta have the right technology. And I don't know how many people I have been on their programs, their affiliate links don't work, the software doesn't work, whatever they're doing doesn't work, how they're bringing the webinar together. If it's a social thing, I'm gonna come pretty casual because I know the show up rate's gonna be really low and people can opt out. When you box them in and lock them in for commitment, it's a very different structure. We're going to make a lot more money. A lot of you are just too casual. Get focused, get clear, and get a result. Talk to you tomorrow.